Hello everyone. So I wanted to show this off. This is my new Strange New Worlds phaser. This is 3D printed, but it's a 3D printed kit. And I wanted to show it to you guys and review it. And show the flaws and show the nice things about it. There are certain things that, certain problems that can be blamed upon me and others upon the person who printed this, and so we'll get into that. So this is printed from a file created by Limey Builds. If you look him up on Facebook, you can get the file. I don't know if he does it for free, if it's available for free, if you have a 3D printer. And then there's a guy on Facebook named, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's spelled Gravel, but I don't know if it's Gravel or Gravel, but Chris Gravel, he's the one who printed this, and you can see some artifacts of the 3D printing here on the P1. I didn't fill those because here in Western Washington State we only get about 8 weeks of sunny, dry weather a year. So when I need to paint something like this, and I want to make it look nice as I can at least, I kind of have to do it quickly because I have a lot of projects that I'm working on, sometimes simultaneously. Same thing on the handle here. When you get these, okay, so full disclosure, Chris, the guy who I got this from, the first printing he did of this was extremely poor. The handle and the body, the main body here, was warped, and that in and of itself is not necessarily a big deal. I've taken care of warped parts before, but the printing was just horrible. It was sticky. It had this weird, the actual material itself was sticky, and it had this weird residue on it that wouldn't go away, and it had tons of pitting. If this looks like a lot of pitting, that's nothing compared to the first prints that I got from Chris. And interestingly, I was the person who asked him to provide it as an unbuilt kit because I wanted to build it myself. One, it's cheaper, and two, I just enjoy the process. I just wish I had had more time to prep it to make it look really nice. But so I contacted Chris, and he kind of browbeat me a little bit, kind of treated me like I was just a stupid girl, and I didn't know what I was talking about, even though I very much did. I've worked with resin before, lots and lots of times. I've worked with really good resin, like the best of the best, and I've worked with really bad resin, the worst of the worst, and so I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm looking for, and yeah. So after some finagling and some back and forth, he agreed to send me out a new handle piece, which this entire piece in black is the handle, and then this entire piece in blue is one piece, and he sent me 2 new ones. He let me keep the old ones, and so he sent out new ones, and they were great. They were really very nice, and they didn't have all of the problems that the other ones had. You can see some pitting here on the back. Again, these are artifacts of the 3D printing process. There on butt plate of the pistol. The this costs, for any of you, it would cost $160, including shipping. That's in the U.S. For me, he gave me a little bit of a discount because I was the first person to suggest him selling it as a kit. He only gave me $10 off, but still, that's $10 is $10. The trigger actually does work, and there's a spring inside of it. Let me take I'll show it on camera. The P1 actually does come off, and it uses rare earth magnets to stick. Get this in the right spot. It just slots right in there, and it's not going anywhere. So it uses rare earth magnets here on the bottom of the P1 and rare earth magnets here on the top of the P2. And if you look inside there, you can see a spring, and you can see the trigger mechanism. It's not perfect. It has a tendency to go like this, so it's kind of uncomfortable. It probably could have been designed better, but it is what it is. This on the bottom is a button. If you have electronics inside the P1, and you can, shoot it. There's no spring or anything for this because I don't think it would really need it. You just have a button up on your electronics inside there. But I was supposed to put a clear coat over this clear piece here, and I didn't. So probably doesn't look as good as it could or should, but it is what it is. And it does you can't really see it here, but the dial does move. I'm really proud of this, how this top piece turned out. And there's a little switch here that is articulated. It does switch back and forth. It's hard to see, but you can tell that it does kind of go back and forth a little bit. So let's talk about the paint that I used. So the ones in the show are anodized aluminum, and they're anodized with some kind of powder blue color. Let me go and get the can of paint that I used for the blue. Alright, so for the blue color on the phaser, I used this VHT high temperature engine metallic. So if you intend your phaser to be exposed to temperatures of 650 degrees Fahrenheit, you'll be able to do that. Of course, the resin itself would melt long before the paint really got messed up. There's your name and number there. I got this at O'Reilly's. SP403 titanium silver blue. So that's what I use for the main body. The paint's actually really nice, but you have to, I suggest testing with it if you're going to use that, and take some scrap styrene or resin or something and do tests to get the distance right, because if you're too close to the subject when you're painting it, you're going to wind up with runs, and I wound up with a couple of runs and had to go and fix it and everything else. But it's actually really good paint. It's not cheap, of course, because of what it's made for, but yeah, it works out fine. And it's a really nice color. I love this kind of silver blue. It looks like RoboCop's armor, and I love that color. I always have. The video isn't really doing it justice as to how really nice it is. But yeah, and it's 1-to-1 scale there. So the blacks on here, the black on the handle is actually gloss I used Tamiya paints, Tamiya spray paints, because that's what I had on hand. And so if you have that and you want to get this, Tamiya spray paints do work on this resin. On the handle is supposed to be matte black, like the P1. But I didn't have any flat black left, so I had to use gloss black. And I did the gloss black, and I actually really liked how it felt. Now, if it were a real weapon, you wouldn't want a glossy handle. You'd want a matte handle, so it's easier to grip, and you won't lose your grip when you're firing. Of course, recoil isn't a big problem with phasers, to my understanding. But yeah, so the P1 is gloss black with a dull coat over it. Again, all Tamiya paints, and it turned out really nice and really smooth. And I had some problems because I was painting it. The surface on which I was painting it, I would paint one side, let it dry, and then paint underneath, and then let that dry. Well, by the time I would take the P1 off, I'd have parts of the surface of the thing on which I painted it would get stuck into the paint, even though I let it dry for a while. So I had to go back and forth, over and over it again. But it turned out fine, and it looks great, and I love it. The silvers on here are bare metal silver, again, Tamiya. So, yeah. You can barely see it, but there's a little emitter in there. It's actually clear. So if you want to put lights in this thing, you can have a lit emitter. I think the ones on the show are actually just aluminum, solid aluminum, so I don't think they light up. But I wanted mine to be clear because I thought that looked cool, because the emitters on the original phasers were clear. So yeah, I love this, and this is actually now my favorite phaser. Believe it or not, it used to be the phaser from the motion picture and the Wrath of Khan, but now it's this. So Limey builds, Chris Gravel, or Gravel, however he pronounces the name. You can look them up on Facebook, and you can get your own for 150, 160 bucks. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye, phaser.